Case managers in any external victims team play a very crucial role in the functioning and operation of the team. It is often assumed that the work of the case manager is limited to purely administrative functions. While this is an important component of the case manager's work, it does not define the limit of his or her responsibilities within the team of the victim's representative. To put it simply, a case manager's most important role is to ensure efficiency in the execution of the mandate given to the legal representative for the victims. I have found that you can divide the work of a case manager into three critical functions: administrative, legal, and information management. These functions will typically feed into each other in the course of the proceedings. Let us briefly look at the administrative functions of the case manager. The administrative functions largely relate to those obligations that tend to be procedural in nature, which require adherence to set formal measures, and which are often time-bound. From the moment that the legal representative for victims is appointed by the court, the counsel in question is almost immediately seized with a number of legal responsibilities both at the court and in the location where the victims are situated. How these responsibilities are to be implemented will usually be set out by the chamber in question, the relevant legal text of the court, and the administrative policies of the registry. Based on these requirements, the legal representative will characteristically consult the victims and subsequently develop a strategy for the representation of their interests in the proceedings. A significant number of these legal requirements will have prescribed deadlines and will involve application of detailed legal and technical procedures. The case manager would be responsible for ensuring that the interventions of the legal representative for victims before the court are in compliance with these legal requirements. For example, legal filings and submissions are often bound by certain formal requirements and timelines set within the legal text or by the decisions of the chamber in question. Moreover, the submissions of these filings must comply with technical and policy requirements of the court. It is a case manager's role to ensure that any legal filings by the legal representative of the victims meet these requirements. Similarly, much of the work of the legal representative, both at the field and in the court, is facilitated through the legal aid resources of the court. These resources are administered by the registry through the counsel support section. To apply these resources, the legal representative must make dedicated requests that comply with the policy guidelines of the registry. The case manager is usually responsible for ensuring both the compliance with these policy guidelines in requesting the resources and the subsequent accounting for the application of the said resources. We now turn to some of the legal functions of the case manager. The composition of the team of the legal representative for victims is restricted by the staffing restrictions set in the single policy document on legal aid. It is often the effect of the application of the single policy document that legal representative teams, which are resourced through legal aid, will be understaffed relative to the demands of the proceedings and the number of victims that they represent. Consequently, the members of the victims team, including the case manager, will frequently be called upon to assist the legal representatives in the various legal aspects of the case. The case manager will regularly be called upon to assist in the assessment of evidence, the generation of filings and legal submissions, as well as in the preparation of necessary interventions during the hearings. We finally turn briefly to the information management functions of the case manager. From the commencement of the case, the legal representative must come to terms with a large volume of significant information related to both the proceedings before the court and the victims he or she represents. This information would need to be processed and distilled in a manner that maximizes its accessibility and utility for the legal representative. For instance, the legal representative will, from the outset, be in receipt of numerous victims' applications, sometimes numbering in the thousands. Each of these application forms will contain significant information related to the victims in question, which will be crucial to the process of representation. The case manager will often be called upon to lead the process of extracting, organizing, and collating the information from the application forms in a manner that will allow for the generation of both quantitative and qualitative data on the victims. The same demands will apply to the case manager with regards to the information related to the material and evidence that would be generated from among the parties throughout the proceedings, as well as information regularly collected by the legal representatives in their constant interaction with the victims. These descriptions of the functions of the case manager are not exhaustive. They will very often vary in scope through the different phases of the case, from both pre-trial to trial to appeal and reparations. Each of these phases will necessarily impose unique obligations on the work of the legal representative for victims. And more significantly, the relevant chambers in each of these phases will often define the parameters and the nature of the participation and intervention of the victims through their legal representative. Nevertheless, while the specific demands on the functions of the case manager may vary during these phases, the principle that undergirds these functions remains the same. The case manager's role is one of all-around service. His or her primary objective is to ensure the seamless operations of the legal representative for the victim's team in all its logistical, administrative, and legal parameters. In the execution of this objective, the case manager will also serve to ensure smooth collaboration between the team of the legal representative for victims and the various sections within the court that are established to provide the legal representative for victims with the essential services and assistance related to the mandate. These sections include the Victims Participation and Reparation section, the Counsel Support section, the Public Information and Outreach section, the Office of the Public Counsel for the Victims, the Victims and Witnesses section, the Trust Fund for Victims, and the relevant field office. It is crucial for any case manager to familiarize himself or herself with the functions of each of these sections and to get to know the personnel working within them. As the focal person between the legal representative and each of these sections, the case manager must strive to maintain a harmonious and mutually collaborative relationship with these sections. Working as a case manager for a legal representative team can be a positively challenging and fulfilling experience. It is a role that demands the development and maximization of your legal, organization, management, and communication skills. Working as a case manager can also be quite humbling in view of the role that is played by the legal representative in securing the rights of the victims through the legal proceedings. Ultimately, the case manager and the entire legal representative team work in the service of the victims participating in those proceedings, who are the primary beneficiaries of the legal proceedings before the court.